What's up, my PT peeps? One Eye Bri back to talk about The Walking Dead Season 7 second half, the March to War storyline, reading the comics, passing the time till February, and we noticed a couple things different coming up on the show that will probably occur, so if you don't want to know, stop watching now. I don't want to ruin it for you, as these are likely to occur from the comics on the show. Now, the March to War storyline from the comics is issues 109 to issues 114, and a lot of good stuff happens building up to all-out war. Now, if you don't know the comics, it's okay, because I'll talk about some things from the comics. The show kind of jumped around a little bit. They changed up a couple of different things on this first part of Season 7. The second part of Season 7 looks to be even newer things, newer groups, newer people, and a couple little things jumping around a little bit as they go back and forth. And like Ezekiel, he's in issue 108, so that's before the March to War storyline, but he meets Carol and Morgan first instead of Rick. So just little things like that are different. It's volume 19, March to War, and it's pretty cool. It's definitely worth looking at, definitely to pass the time until February. Now, basically, it is Negan versus Ezekiel, the Kingdom, Rick, the Survivors, and Maggie at the Hilltop. Well, Gregory at the Hilltop and Jesus, but Maggie's basically running the show, and we know how that goes. But the Saviors are running the show now, on the show and in the comic up to this point, and they need to fight back. So they're marching to war, getting their troops together, getting things ready to fight Negan and the Saviors. Volume 19, March to War, you see Rick Grimes, Ezekiel, and Jesus. Awesome. Now, what we saw in the first part jumped around a little bit, and we'll talk about that. Carl, issue 104, they did a really good job with some of the stuff from the comics on the show. I thought Season 7 so far has been the most comic-related there was and is of all the seasons. 105 saw, Carl at the Sanctuary, and they replicated a lot of those things to a T with the iron and Carl with Negan, and just the gut scene with Negan and Spencer is issues 111, and it's later. And even into 112 about that time frame too. So they jumped ahead, jumped back. So the March to War storyline is where we kind of ended. So it's the start of that, I guess, but they kind of jumped around a little bit, and that's okay. It's kind of a blurred line anyway, but so we're kind of in the March to War storyline, and it's just going to continue when we come back in February, Sunday, February 12th. Like issue 108 was the first appearance of Ezekiel. He saw Rick for the first time when Jesus takes Rick there, but on the show, this was Carol and Morgan with Shiva and Ezekiel. And that's fine. They just mixed that up a little bit. And I like the little differences. But we're going to hopefully see in Season 7, Episode 9, where Rick and Jesus go. But you see the rest of the gang is there. That's a little different. This is the other thing I'm curious to see about. If Dwight shows up. If you want to pause that and read it. But Dwight is there and Rick gets pissed. And he doesn't trust Dwight, of course, because he's a savior. He doesn't trust the savior. He's like, what the hell's going on here? Is this a setup? Is this that? He doesn't really trust what's going on. But Dwight defects from the saviors. He sets up little things. He's still with the saviors, but kind of helps the survivors on the sly. He kind of plays really both sides kind of deal, but ultimately goes to the survivor side. Here, Rick punches Dwight, where I can see maybe Daryl punching Dwight. Now, the second half of the season is titled Rise Up, and Rise Up to the challenge against Negan, of course, on there too, which I thought was different. Outside of the United States, it said Revolt, not Rise Up, which I thought was pretty cool. But Rick and the gang is going against Negan, and I'm excited to see that. I'm Team Rick. If you're Team Negan, the countdown has begun to your days are kind of getting over. You're going to take some casualties, but you're not going to win the war. That's for sure. Maggie, you're going to start running the Hilltop. Now, that's the other thing I'm not sure about. Maggie takes over the Hilltop later on after. I think it's in All Out War, I want to say. But it's definitely after the fact to where we're at now. But they kind of sped that up a little bit where she punched Gregory already. So I don't know if she's going to take out Gregory already. Or don't take him out. He just deserves what happens to him. But I don't know if they're going to speed that up or not. Well, only time will tell. Rick versus Negan. That's where we're headed. That's where we're going. This was Season 7, Episode 8. This was the end. This is the group and the gang getting back together, except for Carol Morgan. But hopefully we'll see in Episode 9, everyone gets back together. Maggie's going to stay at the Hilltop, of course. But the group is around. Now, everyone should live except for Sasha. The word is that Sasha's not going to make it out. Rick gets his groove back, and he gets his Excalibur, his Colt Python back. So the tides are turning. March to War is all about building up the things to fight the Saviors, and I can't wait for it. They'll get back to Alexandria, but they got to go to the kingdom. They all got to set up things. Ezekiel's got to come around. The finale should be amazing. I'll talk about that at the end of the video. It should be freaking one of the best episodes of this season, maybe even of the series, but that's from what I hear and what goes on. But Jesus takes Rick and the gang to the kingdom. He's got one of the radios from the Saviors so he can listen in case they got to get back, because if the Saviors go back to the Alexandria and they're not there, there's going to be a problem. So they go to the kingdom to talk with Ezekiel to set it up. Will Dwight show up? I think so. I just don't know for sure. I can't wait to find out more information. Can't wait for February, that's for sure. But Jesus. Episode 16, so the finale. Issue 114 will be the season 7 finale. And basically, if you know that issue, it's a big issue. Definitely check it out if you haven't. Negan tries to do a second lineup, basically. But he's unsuccessful because Jesus and the gang and the Kingdom Riders and Ezekiel and Shiva show up and whoop ass. And that's going to be a freaking awesome moment. I think they're going to replicate that to a T. Hopefully they do. See Negan swinging the bat at Jesus and he takes him out. He doesn't kill him. He just beats him up pretty good like this. Smashes Lucille in his face, which is great. One of the best parts that I'm hoping to see is with Shiva right here. And Shiva, we have pictures of other videos of that too, if Shiva was filming for this episode. So I could hopefully see this. I just can't wait for her to come out and take out some Saviors, take out some of the guys. And then the Saviors basically think they're running the show. And this is the start. This is the end of March to War into All Out War. Negan gets pushed back, goes back to the sanctuary or down the road, pauses, addresses his group as the Saviors to, light a fire under their ass. They're kind of like confused, and Negan's like, we're going to war. Come on, guys. So Negan, that is probably how the season 7, episode 16 finale ends. It's rumored that Sasha dies, but she's not in the comic, so I can't talk about of her being in the March to War storyline because she's not in the comic. So we got to wait for this. That'll probably be the end of Season 8 for All Out War Part 2. So there you go, guys. March to War storyline broken down from the comics to the show a little bit. If you have any questions, let us know. Post your comments. As always, guys, subscribe to get more videos. You guys are awesome, and thank you for watching.